Hello and welcome to this special tutorial video by the MJCast on podcasting in general. My name's Jamin and today we're going to be covering exactly how to subscribe to the MJCast in a variety of different ways, and also just what podcasts are for those of you who might not have used them before, and just in general how to engage with our show. So the first step really when subscribing to the MJCast is to launch your web browser. So you might be using a Mac, a PC, a phone, or a bunch of different devices. It doesn't matter really which one you're using. The first thing you have to do is launch your browser. So in this case, I'm using a Mac, and I'll go ahead and launch Safari. You might be using Firefox or Chrome, but I'll launch Safari. And once you've launched your browser, really what you have to do is go to the MJCast's website, which is the mjcast.com. So let's go ahead and type that in. There we go, and here's the MJCast. This is what our website looks like, and there's a few different features you're going to notice on it. Of course, in the left-hand column, you've got our feed of our episodes, episode 1, episode 0, and then at the top, you're going to notice our web links section. This is to all of our different social networks, and a lot of people actually like to listen to our show through YouTube, which is great. We love our YouTube subscribers. That's, by all means, go ahead and do that. It's a great way. Some people prefer to stream our show directly on the website because it's quick and easy. But ultimately, at its heart, the MJCast is actually a podcast. And we believe that the best way to engage with our show is through subscribing to it as a podcast. So how do you do that? Well, we've made it nice and easy. We've put a little widget right here on the right-hand side of our site, and it's actually got a button which says on iTunes. Now, by far, iTunes is definitely the most popular podcasting application in the world. And of course, you can get iTunes on your computer, your PC or your Mac. It'll be on your phone, your iPhone, unless, of course, you're using an Android device. And then in that situation, you'll probably have to use a standalone podcasting application to subscribe to the show. And that's not a difficult thing to do. We'll show you how to do that as well. So essentially what you want to do is click on the purple button on iTunes, and it's actually going to launch iTunes on the web. And that's our page right there for you to have a look at. Now, most of the time, what it actually does is your computer or your device will recognize that you've just logged into our page on the iTunes web store, and it will automatically launch iTunes. It hasn't done it for me this time. Most of the time it does. But in the event that it doesn't launch iTunes and you can't log into it, you can't subscribe through that way, all you have to do is click View in iTunes. And it will then manually launch the iTunes application for you, which it's just done for me now. So here we are in iTunes. If you click podcasts, okay, it's basically the iTunes store. This is what it looks like. Okay, it's got a lot of different shows on there that you can subscribe to. It's got like charts over here. So it's basically just like the music store in iTunes, except it's specifically for podcasts. So obviously, if you're on the iTunes web store, you click in View in iTunes, it's going to launch that for you there. And the first thing you have to do is click Subscribe. So once you've done that, it kind of adds the MJCast to your feed within iTunes, ready for you to start listening to the show. So there we go. It's subscribed for me now. And how do I look at what podcasts I've got on iTunes, on a Mac or a PC? It's very simple. You click on My Podcasts, and here they are on the left. Now, I'm only subscribed to one, and the reason for that is because the MJCast is the only podcast you'll ever need to subscribe to. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, I use a totally different application for podcasting, and I've got a bunch in there, which I'll show you in a minute. But your shows will come up in the left, episodes in the right, and then every time there's a new show, it'll just automatically load right in there for you to listen to. And that's, of course, the beauty of podcasting. So that's how to engage with iTunes on a Mac or a PC to to subscribe to the MJCast. You can, of course, also, you can search for our show right in the store just by typing in the MJCast. Let's try that now. There we go. Let's see what it comes up with. There's the MJCast. Again, here's our page. As a side note, we'd absolutely love it if you guys, as our listeners, could stop by every once in a while and add a review in there, give us a 5-star rating. And yeah, just write a review. And the reason that we're asking our listeners to write reviews is because that really increases our visibility in the iTunes store a lot. So that one day we might even get featured on the homepage of the iTunes store. If you click here, you can see a bunch of different featured podcasts, and we'd love it one day if we could have the opportunity to be right up in there in that banner, ready for music fans in general to subscribe to the MJCast. So that's how to do everything you need to do through iTunes. I think probably it's time that I show you guys how to do it on a phone. Now, the cool thing about iPhones and iPads is that it comes stock standard with Apple's Podcasts application. Now, you can actually use iTunes. If you go to the iTunes store, you can search for the MJCast through that if you want. But most of the time when people are engaging with podcasts on their iPhone or iPad, they actually use the Podcasts application that comes on the device already. It's like preloaded, pre-installed. And of course, you can search manually, just like we did before for the MJCast. It's going to come up with this page here if you search, just like we did on the Mac. But again, if you're on your phone and you want to subscribe to our show, the quickest and easiest way to do it is simply by launching your browser. Okay, we're going to go to the MJCast.com. Here it is. All you need to do on the phone is scroll down a little bit, click on iTunes. It's going to launch us in the iTunes application. You just hit the subscribe button, and bingo, you're subscribed to our show right on iTunes on your device. But of course, like I said, everything happens within that Podcasts application. And once you launch that, you'll be able to see all the different shows you're subscribed to, which is really, really fantastic. Now, what I want to talk about now is that there's actually not only iTunes as an option to subscribe to different shows, but there's also other standalone podcast applications. And if you're new to podcasting, I'd just recommend using iTunes for now and getting used to it that way, mainly because it's completely free. But if you want a bit more of a powerful application to do podcasting, or you're an Android user, I'd highly recommend a great app called Downcast. And I'm actually not sure. I'll just double check that Downcast is actually available on Android. I think it is. Let's go to their website and have a look. Downcast.com. Actually, I don't think it is Downcast.com. Let's just do a Google search and try to find it. It might just be Mac only. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's just for Apple. Sorry, Casey Rain. If you're listening, he's going to hate me for this. But you can actually get a bunch of different podcast applications for Android and Windows as well. So I don't know if you're listening, Casey, but you might want to. If you want to just leave a comment or something like that on the video of a great Android application that you can use, that'd be good for our listeners. But I'll show you Downcast anyway. If you're on a Mac or you're on an iPhone, great application. Costs a little bit of money in the App Store, but it is such a powerful app. Let's launch it right now. This is what Downcast looks like. Similar to iTunes, you've got all of your shows right on the left there. And then if you click on a particular show, like the MJCast, you've got your episodes on the right-hand side. And the cool thing about this, and I'm quite sure this is functional as well within the iTunes version of if you're using iTunes to get on your podcast, you can actually look at show notes. So let's have a look at the show notes for episode 1. If you click information, it comes up with all of our show notes that we use. This is what Q and I actually use to talk from when we're doing our show. And, they're all hyperlinked. So in the section of the show last week when we were talking about that new footage of Michael Jackson reading to Paris and Prince, if you want to see that, all you have to do is click on the hyperlink and it's actually going to launch YouTube where you can watch that. So let's give that a go.
Let's find out what's special about his brother. There's something special about his brother.
Great little video.
Okay. Now Sammy sometimes get a lift to his school in the car with us. And even though he still can't say my...
So that's a really good thing about using Downcast, is you can engage with show notes and different things like that. And it's a very powerful medium. You can also, search for new podcasts by clicking add, typing in whatever you want to find. For example, let's have a look again for the MJCast, but this time in Downcast rather than iTunes. And that should come up right there in the store. There it is. Hit subscribe and bang, you will be on the MJCast, which is really, really great. It's very similar as well on an iPhone. Here's Downcast on the iPhone. Just launch it straight like that. You've got all your different shows there in the feed. And then if you click on the show, it's going to have your episodes there ready to go as well. Really, really great application. I personally prefer it to iTunes, but of course, again, if you're just new to podcast and you want to use a free application to do it, and the official one, of course, then just launch podcasts right on your phone, or, of course, iTunes on your Mac. So we really hope that this has helped you kind of understand how podcasting works in terms of subscriptions. Basically, I'll talk just a very quick little bit about what goes on in terms of how podcasts work with updating. So the way it kind of functions is our website is built on what we call a WordPress platform, okay, which has RSS built into it. Now, RSS is kind of, I guess, the medium that's used to push content to people that engage with the MJCast. So on our website, every time we add a new post, okay, and we tag it as a podcast, it automatically gets sent out via RSS to your podcast application. So that's the beauty of podcasting, is that you don't have to come to this website to hunt around for new content. What happens is every time we add something to it, it automatically pushes out to you. So your phone's going to send you a notification, or your computer's going to have a notification, and your podcast application is going to automatically download an update with that new episode ready for you guys to listen to, rather than you having to go and find it. That's the beauty of podcasting. Feel free to engage with the MJCast in whichever way you want, whether it's through YouTube or a different streaming through the website or something like that. But we would highly recommend that you just jump straight on the MJCast, hit subscribe, and listen to our show in the way that it was intended, as a podcast. Hopefully this has been helpful. We can't wait to release our next episode of the MJCast. Feel free to subscribe to us in any way you want. Hit us back with some feedback. We love fan interaction. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope that you enjoy the MJCast. Keep Michaeling. Thank you.